Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kate Santana. I am a wife and a mom of 2.5, getting close to 3-year-old Olivia Joy, and then 4-month-old Eden Elizabeth, who is playing on the ground here next to me, so you may hear her for this video. Before we jump into today's content, if you are interested in mom content that revolves around Montessori, homeschooling, home birth, organization, newborn stuff, toddler stuff, all that and more, please go ahead and click that subscribe button and stick around. I would love to have you, and introduce yourself in the comments down below. If when you are listening to this video, there's anything you hear that you agree with, go ahead and hit that like button and leave me a comment down below. Next is that we are taking a really quick break from my organized home series that I have been doing. I will link that down below as well. The reason I'm taking a break is because this week is World Breastfeeding Week, and in honor of that, I wanted to share some things. Eden's very into it. I wanted to share some things that I have learned. Second baby now, second time breastfeeding. She loves to talk during my videos. I think she knows that I'm talking, and then she just gets really talkative. Here's the baby. Because it's World Breastfeeding Week, I wanted to share a few breastfeeding pieces of advice that I no longer subscribe to, and a little bit of a reason why, and then I'm also going to share just some baby advice in general that I no longer subscribe to. This video is not meant to shame anyone or to make anyone feel guilty. It is literally just a topic that I hope is interesting to you to hear somebody else's opinion, and these are just the opinions that I've come to after research and prayer, and this is what I've decided. It doesn't mean you have to decide the same thing. Additionally, if you are watching this, I am sure you're going to find at least one thing, if not many things, that you disagree with me on, and that is okay. It doesn't mean we have to dislike each other or whatever. It just means we're different people, and that's okay. We have each been uniquely chosen to be the mothers of our children. The first thing that I no longer believe is that tongue ties and lip ties need to be revised as soon as possible. Eden, if you haven't been following me on Instagram and also a bit on YouTube, has a significant tongue and lip tie, but I really was not feeling the revision right away. I wanted to see what else we could do. We saw a lactation consultant who recommended that we go to a chiropractor first to see what could happen. We went to a chiropractor probably close to a dozen times with her already, and then we went to see a pediatric dentist who sees tongue and lip ties all the time. She looked at Eden, evaluated her, and said, "Oh my gosh, Kate, she is so good. She is so calm. Normally babies are in here screaming their heads off because they're so uncomfortable." She said she does have a tongue tie and she has a lip tie, but the chiro care has done wonders for her, and she is fine. She does not need a revision. So I definitely believe that body work, chiropractic care for infants, and just working with their body to release tension can help to release the ties so that they don't need a revision. So that's the first thing that I no longer believe. Second thing I no longer believe is that you should use a nipple shield right off the bat for latching problems. Unfortunately, I was not aware of this at all when I had Olivia, and one of the nurses in the hospital, pretty much as soon as I had Olivia and they tried to get her to nurse the first time, they were like, "Oh, she's having a hard time latching. Like, I don't think she's gonna be able to latch well, and just try this nipple shield." They gave me the wrong size. It was just very clear that it wasn't great advice, but I didn't know, being a first-time mom, and I used a nipple shield for the first 11 weeks with Olivia. With Eden, also had a hard time latching with her. Sometimes I would pray every time she latched for probably the first like 3 weeks, because it either hurt or she just couldn't get a good latch, and it was stressful, but we worked through it. We haven't had to use a nipple shield, and she latches perfectly now. She's nursing perfectly. It's just something you can work through with your child. You don't need to introduce this foreign object between you and your child. Unless like a severe case, you've tried everything else. For me, at least, it's just not something that I'm willing to do as a first resort anymore. A last resort would be a nipple shield for me. So from now on, if I have any future children as well, I would not go to a nipple shield as like first line of defense if I'm having latching issues. The third thing that I no longer believe is in cutting out or reducing night feedings Yeah, you don't believe that either, huh? Night feedings or feedings in general. With my first baby, unfortunately, again, I followed just so much advice that I would not follow again, but I tried to reduce night feedings. I tried to reduce overall feedings because I thought that it would make her sleep longer, and I thought that's what you were supposed to do. Now I definitely just nurse on demand. I actually have even increased feedings by adding in a dream feed because I have found that it helps my supply. I ended up needing to supplement with Olivia around 7 months because my supply dipped for a variety of reasons, but I think one of the reasons was because I had cut out feedings too early and was trying to reduce them. I just do not mind waking up, especially since eating goes right back to bed now. I do not mind waking up to feed her. It's good for her, it's good for me, it's good for my supply, and there is no reason why, in my opinion, I would ever want to reduce those feedings, unless she was obviously up like every 2 hours. She's up 1 time a night with the dream feed 2 times a night, and that's fine with me, and I have no desire to reduce that. The fourth thing, don't be offended by this one if you do this, because I know a lot of people do, but I am not going to add cereal to my child's milk to get them to sleep longer, or rice or whatever, rice cereal. I do not believe that that is nutritionally healthy. After doing my research, I actually never even gave Olivia rice cereal or cereal at all until she was probably like 2 years old. Now she eats regular cereal, but I'm not gonna start cereal with my child. I'm not going to do that to try to fill her up to make it through the night. It's just not a good nutritional choice from my perspective in the research that I've done, and so we are gonna skip baby cereal altogether. Number 5 is that I am not going to start feeding her right at 4 months. I know that people say you can start foods between 4 and 6 months. For 4-month-olds, a lot of times people start cereal or like purees. We are not gonna do that. We are gonna try to make it as close to 6 months as possible. Reason being that nutritionally, she is getting everything that she needs right now from mama's milk, right? Everything that she needs is being supplied through my milk. There is no nutritional reason, and really just, if there's no nutritional reason, to me, there's no reason to start food this early. So she will start as close to 6 months as we can get. And number 6, this is the last breastfeeding piece of advice that I no longer take, and that is adding vitamin D drops to her milk. So one thing that I have learned recently, I still need to make a pro-metabolic video, but I have learned that vitamin D is actually a hormone, and it is not good to supplement it. When it is supplemented, it actually messes with the other hormones in your body, and it can throw your mineral balances off, and it's just not a good idea to get synthetic vitamin D. So I am drinking very high quality dairy, raw milk, pasture raised everything, and I'm getting plenty of dairy, raw cheese. We're also getting sunlight. It's the summertime, so she is fine on vitamin D. I am not going to do synthetic vitamin D droplets, which I did do with Olivia, and actually only stopped giving Olivia vitamin D supplements about 6 months ago when my husband and I also stopped them. Okay, so now I have 6 pieces of baby advice I'm not going to follow that are not related to breastfeeding. The first is using a bunch of soaps and lotions on my baby. In fact, she has yet to have soap used on her. We wash her with water and a washcloth, which is sufficient to clean her. She is not getting dirty yet. And her poop is water soluble. It is breast milk, essentially. So there is nothing she needs besides water to be cleaned off. Scent is not good for babies or even adults. I actually saw something, a few people I follow on Facebook were like posting this thing about Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, I think is how you say her name, and how they like don't bathe themselves that often or their kids that often, and people are like, ew, gross, whatever. So you guys can call me gross, but honestly, studies have shown that using soap every day is not good for you. It's not good for your microbiome. It's not good for all of the good, healthy bacteria that is on your skin. And fragrance is not healthy for you either. I really don't like getting fragrance on my baby, or like if someone smells heavily of fragrance holding her and then I get her back and her skin is like full of this artificial fragrance. I don't like it. And actually, we found new doctors, new pediatricians for her, and they sent us like intake forms in the mail. And one of the things that I saw on the intake form, it's like a whole page, which I thought was awesome. It's like, we are a fragrance-free facility, and if you come in wearing fragrance, we're gonna have to reschedule your appointment. And I was like, wow, they're taking it pretty seriously. But obviously those are doctors even saying that fragrance is bad. So I'm definitely not into fragrance, soap or lotion. I really don't think there's any reason for her to even have soap or lotion right now. So that is something I do not do when it comes to babies. Number 8 is I don't use a variety of baby containers like Mamaroos, walkers, chairs, swings, all of that stuff. Don't get me wrong, I have been tempted a million times, especially this time around, to get them. We do have one chair, but it is not battery operated, and it's just like a reclining sort of like comfy chair. I'll put a picture of it, which she does sit in when she's in the kitchen because there's not really a safe place for her to be on the floor. But essentially, from all of the research I've done, again, it is best for baby to be on the floor at all times. It is best for their physical, mental, emotional, no, I don't know about emotional, but it is best for their physical and mental development to be on the floor or to be held by you. And so I try to avoid baby containers as much as possible. That includes sleeping in them. Like, she's never slept, neither of my kids have slept in like a rock and play or a swing or anything like that. They sleep either in the wrap on me or in their cribs. Number 9 is we do not believe in swaddling, which I've talked about before, or even really sleeping on their backs. Don't kill me about that one, but it's just true. I have also I also know doctors who go against the grain on this and say like babies can't get flat heads if they sleep on their stomach or their side. It just makes biological, physiological sense for the baby not to be on their back all the time, and then they have potentially a flat head and need a helmet. Like, that's not how their body was designed. And I do believe God designed our bodies on purpose, and if we were supposed to sleep on our backs, we wouldn't have flat heads if we did so. So we do not swaddle or sleep her on her back. At this point, she's been rolling since 2 months old, and they say once kids can roll, they can sleep on their stomachs. Like, that doesn't even make any sense to me, but whatever, we don't follow that advice, so take it or leave it. Number 10 is we do not do co-sleeping. This is just my personal advice. I know that, or not, this is my personal conviction. I know that a lot of people do co-sleeping, especially in like the very, very beginning. I think it's fine. It's just that I wouldn't really be able to sleep. There were several nights she did sleep in bed with us, but not many. I just think by the time she's this old, my husband and I need our room back. We need a space just for us, and I think for our marriage relationship, it just works better for the kids to have their own rooms. I know one of the arguments for co-sleeping is like, many people around the world co-sleep. This is normal, it's just not normal in America. And yes, that may be true, but I think in a lot of cases, people are co-sleeping out of necessity, not out of choice. And if they had a choice, maybe they wouldn't be co-sleeping. Maybe they would want their bed just with their husband. I don't know. But a lot of people do it because that is the only choice. It is like the only bed in the house. We do have a choice, and the choice that we are making is to have the girls in their own room so that my husband and I can have the bedroom to ourselves. Number 11 that I do not any longer subscribe to, and this one I did with Olivia, and to be honest, this is probably one of the things I have like the most guilt about when it comes to looking back at raising her, is cry it out. I definitely did cry it out with Olivia. I am not going to do it with Eden. I don't think it is necessary anymore. I wish I hadn't done it. Eden is still a really good sleeper at night, and we haven't had these long periods of her just crying nonstop. Granted, Olivia just cried incessantly all the time, so it was really tough, and it almost seemed like nothing we ever did helped. So it was like, you're just gonna have to cry because we have tried everything. With Eden, things do help, so that's a bit different, but I don't believe in cry it out anymore, and that's just something that has changed when it comes to my personal parenting philosophy. One course that I do recommend is Taking Care of Babies, which I can link them down below too. I have read and gotten some of her stuff, and it more aligns with what I believe is appropriate for babies and sleep. And the last one, number 12, is medicine of any kind unless absolutely necessary. So Eden has not gotten, again, I talked about like vitamin D, even supplements. Just any sort of medical intervention that's like allopathic, antibiotics, stuff like that, even like when she's teething, giving her medicine, even medicine to reduce a fever unless it's a very high fever. I mean, she hasn't had a fever yet, but I believe that our bodies are giving us symptoms sometimes to communicate to us, and I'm definitely going to take a more natural route. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna take a more natural route with Eden. If she does get sick, then I even did with Olivia, although we haven't given Olivia much either, but I've definitely moved more towards being natural minded. Like if either of my girls had reflux, for instance, like we thought Olivia had silent reflux, I was definitely against giving medication to her for it. From the research that I did, reflux can be really common in babies because their esophagus, the sphincter that holds their esophagus like close to their stomach, is still underdeveloped, and they have a completely liquid diet. So liquid can very easily come back up from their stomach. It's very normal, and unless it's like super severe, it doesn't really need to be medicated. And from what I have seen, people over medicate for reflux. Again, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not like diagnosing anyone or giving medical advice or anything like that, but I would stay away from medication as much as humanly possible when it comes to my babies. That is it. That is my list of 12 things. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree, disagree, if you have anything else, like any common baby advice that you do not subscribe to. And happy World Breastfeeding Week. Say hi. Yeah. Love you guys. Hope to hear from you soon, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.